There we go. All right. Welcome and good morning to Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley. I'm Catherine Snyder, and we're a little center in Lafayette, Colorado. We're an organization that teaches that each of us is a divine being, that what we say and what we think matters, and that we can change our life by changing the things that we think. Our vision and our passion is to inspire and uplift every one of us to transform the world because, you got to dream big. We start every one of these talks with a type of prayer that we call affirmative prayer. It's not about beseeching to an outside God, but rather opening to the truth that is within us. Each of us has our own manifestation of that divine energy. And this prayer is kind of about inviting that forward, declaring the truth of who we are and what we're going to be. And Sandy is going to do our opening prayer today. So Sandy?
I invite everyone to take a deep breath. Go inside to that center. Universal Spirit, we are here listening and talking and viewing what's going on, that we are joining our souls in the learning path. We reach out to those in Paris, praying for their events, knowing that every winner brings to the world as well as their country that unity and that peace that we are striving for. Let us listen with our third ear for deep understanding and be prepared to be vulnerable as we talk about the topic. Let us be together and moving forward. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, Sandy. Our speaker today is Reverend Sherri Ginand. Sherri grew up in a small town in Western Connecticut and then lived in San Diego, California for the past 33 years. She recently drove across the country with her wife, Gail, and 2 cats to settle in Massachusetts. She notes that the only other center for spiritual living in Massachusetts is a teaching center near Boston. So she will be creating a new ministry in Western Massachusetts once they find their forever home. Rev Sherri graduated from the Holmes Institute with a master's in consciousness studies. She now serves remotely as a staff minister at Universal Spirit Center in San Diego, where her focus is on providing pastoral care for sages, that's the elderly, right? That's us, and support folks with animal companions. Growing up, Sherri had a variety of pets and aided her father at his veterinary clinic. And for this, she developed a strong bond with all of God's creatures. Rev Sherri's interests range from social justice issues, stewardship for the environment, singing, and playing word games. Her life purpose is to compassionately share the teachings of religious science so that others may experience love and unity with God and gain tools to lead meaningful and enjoyable lives. Awesome. Okay, Rev Sherri, take it away.
Thank you, Catherine. And thank you, Sandy, for the opening prayer. I usually invite us to open up to spirit, and you beat me to the punch. So yeah, so I've been introduced and I just want to, I know you welcomed me, but I want to welcome you all, Boulder Valley CSL folks, and those who may be watching this as a recording later on. So just thank you so much for inviting me to share and sharing on the topic of soul journey, our soul journey. Before we go into that, let me just ask, and I'll have a few questions here and you can raise your hand on Zoom. How many of you have gone on a journey, either recently or in the past? Just a show of hands visually. Yeah, sure, we all have. And what about a spiritual pilgrimage, such as the El Camino de Santiago or the St. James path in Spain, where it ends at a cathedral where supposedly the remains of Apostle James was buried? Anybody been on that one? Another kind of journey is, what about an NDE, a near-death experience, or I like to call it a near next life experience? Any of you had one of those? All right. So these are all kinds of journeys. And then what about having kids? That's a journey to the nth degree, right? So does everyone go on a journey of some sort? Absolutely yes, right? Marianne Williamson, you remember her, former presidential candidate. She's a spiritual teacher, been around for a while. And she likes to say that the spiritual path is simply the journey of living our lives. You know, everyone is on a spiritual path, but most people just don't know it. So Catherine already mentioned that my wife and Gail just had a big journey recently, a physical one from one side of the coast, one side of the coast, one side of the country to the other, car filled to the brim. And we launched this journey without knowing exactly where we were going to land. First, we thought Connecticut, where my brother lived, and now we've found a place in Massachusetts. And by the way, we did find our forever home, but it's being built in East Hampton, Massachusetts. So by the end of the year, we should be able to move in there. So we're in temporary home right now. And the reason we did this crazy journey at our ages, well, to be near family and for me to build a new ministry. You already heard Catherine say there's not many CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, in New England, just like one in the few southern states. And also, there's that je ne sais quoi, the I don't know, that something's unfolding here for me. So journeys can have a destination in mind, but they can also be open-ended. And each day on our physical journey, driving cross country, unfolded as its own little mini journey of its own. You know, each day we planned where we were going to stop the next night. We knew it was going to take about a week to get cross country, but we didn't know exactly how. Well, here's the Colorado part I mentioned earlier to some of you before this Zoom. One day we were going through the mountains of Colorado. We took the northern route, and the cars were backed up. You know, we're going through passes, so there's no place to go. There was 2 lanes going up the mountain into the ski areas, right? And this long line. Finally, as we crept along, we found out there was this fire on the hillside right adjacent to the freeway or highway, you call them out here, being put out by all the workers. But wait, then a little further on up in the mountains, we drove through this horrendous or amazing hailstorm, and I thought it was going to break the windshield of our car. So what do they say about, you know, fire and brimstone? We had hail and fire. So we had quite an adventure, but we made it through. So there's the physical adventures. But what about soul journey? What is a soul journey, and what are they all about? And I found out, you know, Catherine said, I'm a word game lover and words. Journée comes from the French jour. You know, we all probably heard the phrase soup du jour, soup of the day. So jour, J-O-U-R, the beginning of the word journey, it used to mean a day's travel. Of course, journeys can be much longer now. So we go for the day, the journey. Now, Dr. Ernest Holmes, who was a mystic and the founder of Science of Mind and Spirit, our spiritual philosophy, said this. He said, nature will not let us stay in any one place for too long. She, nature, will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. Uncle Ernie goes on to continue, says, this is a wise provision, for should we stay there too long, we would become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. So nature demands change in order that we may advance. Interesting, from Ernest Holmes. So although experiences on a physical journey can challenge and change us, like Gail and I experiences weather. We experienced the beauty of all the country, and each state was different. Being with our cats, it taught us to be patient, going through the many, many miles of cornfields in the central states. The spiritual journey is about opening our awareness to who we really have been all along at the soul level. So in one, we have a journey maybe out and back, like the hero's journey, which isn't just for heroes, by the way. It's a metaphor. You may have, read in school or heard about the Greek Homer's Odyssey, and how the hero of that story goes out and has all this stuff happen and comes back home changed for the better, as they sing like in Wiz, right? Hopefully for the better. And in spiritual journeys, we can meet our own personal challenges and hopefully become more engaged and changed. Our consciousness shifted into more of acknowledging who we already are. So there's a little bit of difference. In physical journeys, we maybe change in our mindset or physically, but the soul journey is more about recognizing and coming back home to center of who we really are. But there's similarities too. Another author, Eckhart Tolle, a present day author, says, if we stay in the present, let's stay in the present moment and enjoy the doing. That's what Gail and I had to learn, to enjoy the long days in the car, to enjoy the drive, and not to be so focused on the arriving. What's the destination? That's true of the physical journey as well as the soul journey, right? If we're so focused on getting that next job, we're so focused on becoming enlightened. See, I'm gritting my teeth. There's this, it ain't going to happen. It's stressful. And the stress comes from focusing on what's next and the next moment and the next, rather than being in the present moment. Tolle says the future never exists except as a thought, right? There's really no such thing as the future, because as soon as we get to the future, it becomes the present. So it's a non-thing. So don't stress about it. Sherri, take note. I'm working on it. I sometimes stress about the future. I'm human. Ministers are not perfect. We're human. So how do we do that? Well, spiritual journeys can involve a whole range of practices, beliefs, prayer, meditation. There's even physical exercises, mudras. We can talk about that in the discussion part later. But it can also be doing affirmations, helping us to have more positive states of mind, like self-esteem, self-worth, and a greater capacity for love and generosity. On their spiritual journeys, Christians speak of walking with God or walking in the light. You may have heard that, walk with God. Well, I don't know about you. I prefer to run, but maybe that's just because I grew up in New England. Everything's kind of fast, fast, fast. So there's all these ways to think about spiritual journeys. Now I'm going to back up a moment and talk about, well, what is a soul? We talk about soul journey, or I talk about soul journeys. Everybody has these different ideas of soul. And if you ask different mystics and spiritual teachers, they have slightly different definitions. Well, according to our founder, again, Ernest Holmes, he says the soul is that immortal part of us that knows the truth, that all is one. Amazing thought. And all is love. It's the presence of universal spirit in us. That's our soul, the eternal part. Another great place to go to look up words that we kind of bandy around in Science of Mind and Spirit, two places. Ernest Holmes wrote a textbook called The Science of Mind. In the back is a glossary of all the terms, many of the terms he uses. That's a great resource. But I also found this one, the Essential New Thought Glossary. And I looked it up, and in it, it has this whole section on the journey of the soul. I said, perfect for today. And in that glossary said, it reminds us kind of what Holmes says in slightly different language, The journey of the soul reminds us the human soul emanates from perfection. That's with a capital P, another word for God, right? Or spirit. And the journey, we travel on the road of experience in order that we may return to perfection, but individualized. Now, that's another one of those lingo words. Just think of the word individual. We come from the universal perfection. And as we go on our journey of life and our spiritual journey, we realize how the divine is created unique in each of us, individualized. It goes on to say, our mission is at first as an individual, our soul journey, and personal. But this is interesting. It goes on, it says, but ultimately it's planetary. Or I suppose in today's day and age, we could say it's cosmic, it's universal. We're here to end suffering, at first individually. It sounds really Buddhist, doesn't it? Alleviate suffering or learn how to deal with suffering. So we're here to end suffering at first individually and then collectively, bringing permanent, like that word, permanent peace and freedom to our planet. Wow. Kind of like Sandy prayed about, at the Olympics, right? Bringing peace to the globe. So the journey of a soul deals with certain fundamental questions. Some of you may have dealt with this. Maybe some of you are on the beginning of your journey. For some of us, it's a continually asking this so that we can grow some more. So kind of the key first question is, who are we? I kind of said already. You may have heard this phrase that is said a lot by Science of Mind ministers and teachers, by Pierre Teilhard-Chardin, a French Jesuit priest, and I can say the English, the French better than I can say the English, a French Jesuit priest and philosopher. And he said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Heard that one before? Probably lots, right? And by the way, Teilhard de Chardin was born in 1981 and Ernest Holmes in 1987. So they were contemporaries. I do not know if they knew of each other or met. That would be interesting to look up. Okay, so who are we? Spiritual beings. The second question of spiritual journeys is soul journeys. Why are we here? This crazy planet, human life of ours filled with lots of hurdles. Yes, there can be glorious and joyful moments, but so why are we here going through all this stuff? And the teachers will tell us we're here to discover the truth of our being, the facts of our lives. And what did we say before? It's kind of why we're here. So who are we, spiritual beings, and why are we here? We're here to discover, question number one. Who are we? Spiritual beings. Now, this is interesting. So if we're spiritual beings and already perfect, where are we going? Gail and I took a journey. We knew we were going to New England. If we go on our journeys, we get out a map or Google, and we found out, where are we going? In Eastern traditions, they say we're moving towards enlightenment. We move towards liberation, says Ernest Holmes. Liberation meaning that freedom from our ego, freedom from all this grief. We've consented to come together in this time and space experience to learn how to be in loving relationships and reveal our true natures. You may have heard that, and this is a challenging journey, or it can be. You may have heard the phrase, the longest journey is from the head to the heart, meaning the journey of shifting our consciousness, of our awareness, of our enlightenment, or becoming enlightened, is moving from that thinking brain that thinks it knows everything and I've got this going on, that, to intuitively knowing in our heart, in our center, in our soul. So from the head to the heart. And that 18 inches or so can be one of the most challenging journeys, soul journeys we go on. And how do we find our way on this journey? Kind of mentioned it before, through a whole variety of spiritual practices. And again, we'll share that maybe in the discussion. So what's the result? I mentioned just a bit ago, this liberation of our spirit. Holmes wrote in 1929, so many people were asking, well, what is this science of mind thing? What's it about? He wrote a set of ideas called the Declaration of Principles. It's in each and every Science of Mind digest, that little magazine that's published. And I encourage you, if you're not already a subscriber, get it. You can get a digital version or a paper version. It's got daily guides. It's got great brief articles. Anyway, in the magazine, in this Declaration of Principles, the result of all this soul searching, this soul journey, Holmes says, our ultimate goal is, and if you know this, say it along with me, a complete emancipation from discord of every nature. And that goal is sure to be attained by all. I love that, but let's take it apart. Complete emancipation from discord, from anything where we think we're contrary, separate, all negative, non-affirming life stuff, discord, all that angst stuff of every nature. And the second part of this is just what's so amazing. It's sure to be attained by all. We don't have to, back in the 1500s, there were, or the Catholic Church sold indulgences. You had to pay your way into heaven out of purgatory or for your family. Some spiritual philosophies say, not everybody gets emancipated from this distressing state. Not everybody gets to heaven. Of course, we don't believe in heaven. We just believe in this wonderful state of fullness, of perfection that we are. But this goal is sure to be attained by all, says Holmes. Good news. And another point is that all this journeying, this soul journeying, it's a solitary path. It's something we do in and for ourselves, yet we can do it together in support of one another. So not by ourselves, but for ourselves. I love it that Holmes says, you're going to have a lot of joy sailing around this world of yours. Don't fight the opinions of others or waste time arguing over things. There's a lot of that going on right now, right? In the world and on media. Follow the inward gleam of your consciousness and you will arrive. It's talking about our journey. So this idea is journeying, but here's a secret. We don't really need to change. Our spiritual self is perfect. Yeah, I believe we are, in our humanness, changelings, meant to be changelings. That is, changing, to change our ego and our mind to a higher consciousness, one of love, seeking the highest manifestation, expression of ourselves, of that perfection that's our inner cosmic beingness. We're on an eternal being of now, pathways of unfoldment. And so that's this metaphysical, this spiritual conundrum. We're perfect, and yet we're told to be more. How can perfect be more? That's part of the journey, why studying and praying, meditation are so important. So yes, life is a spiritual journey of becoming aware of our magnificence as spiritual being. You are magnificent. I am magnificent. We are magnificent. So let's follow the blueprint of the Creator that the Creator had in mind for us, to use these life journeys, these crazy life journeys, to reflect our soul's purpose, our true soul's aspect. Muji, who was a Jamaican spiritual teacher, master, he said, in the spiritual journey, you cannot be a wine taster. You have to become a drunk. I love that. You have to become a drunk. You have to go all in. You can't just dabble at spiritual journeys. We have to be all in. And if we need some help from a practitioner, our minister, a friend, a spiritual author, get that help. Be all in. We can choose the attitude to be on this journey. Life can be a path of misery and drudgery, or it can be joy and gratitude. And let's begin it. Lao Tzu, that the Chinese philosopher from over 2,500 years ago, and the founder of Taoism, purportedly. He said that famous saying, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." And I'd say the spiritual journey, the soul journey, begins with a single moment of mindfulness. A minute, just take a minute. Just think, there are 525,960 minutes in a year. That's over 500,000. What if we could take each of those mindful moments and reflect on our true soul's journey? So I encourage us to visualize our spiritual destinations, and then pick one thing this week that will move you towards your destination. And let's talk about some of those ideas together in a moment. And if you have a real heart pull in that, maybe share it with someone you trust. And maybe even Boulder Valley community can come together and talk about visions for following the spiritual life journey. I'd like to invite us to close with a joint affirmation. So I'll say a brief line, and repeat it after me. All right? And you can stay muted. So repeat after me. We take our spiritual journey. We take our spiritual journey. Alone yet together. Alone yet together. My life is love. My life is love. My spiritual journey is love. My spiritual journey is love. My soul is forever one. My soul is forever one. One with eternal love. One with eternal love. And so it is.
Thank you very much, Reverend Sherri. That was wonderful. Wonderful. And I want to be a spiritual drunk. So.
Don't you love it?
I always see you that way.
All right.
So you have to tell me how your discussion goes, and
yep, we'll jump.
I've thought of some questions if there's crickets,
Good,
there's silence. So
good. Yep, time for the discussion. But before I stop the recording, I do want to put in a little plug, of course. We believe that one gives where one receives spiritual nourishment and inspiration. So if anyone found anything of value in the message, if you want to contribute to our work or feel moved to make a donation of any size, please make a love offering at cslbouldervalley.org/donate, which I'll post into the chat and then also in the description later down below. And if you're watching this recording later on and want to be part of the conversation next time, you can find the Zoom link on our website. We meet online via Zoom on the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th Sundays of the month, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hope to see you there.